What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and today we gotta talk about the Atari box, because finally it at last has been launched in its own weird capacity. The Indiegogo is live and has already earned way more money than I ever would have thought. The Atari VCS, as weird as it is technically a success. Before we get into that, I really quickly want to thank you guys. Within the next 24 hours, I'm probably gonna break 100,000 subscribers, so thank you all so much for the amazing support. I do have two big plans in the works. I'm going to be doing a special video about my history and why I'm called DreamcastGuy, and I'm also going to be doing a 24-hour live stream just to try and basically celebrate this amazing occasion with all of you. Now, back to the actual subject, which is the Atari box. Now, I keep calling it that because for the first year, that's all we knew it as, but it is now the Atari VCS. It has at last come out in a limited capacity. So they've just launched the Indiegogo, and right out of the gate, some stuff about this seems suspicious. I want to say that nothing I'm saying in this video is an official allegation. None of these are accusations, and the reason I'm saying that is that way they don't try and sue me, and they can't legally take this video down. So Atari, if you're watching this, please don't get so mad you try and destroy my life. But here's why things are a little bit weird to me. First and foremost, it's a bit odd that this console didn't really even try on Indiegogo. Their actual original goal was $100,000. Nobody is making a console for that cheap. Even the most low budget of indie games costs more than $100,000 to make. I mean, most stuff costs minimum of $1 million. I mean, the Ouya, which is a console that downright sucks by most people's standards, raised millions and millions of dollars and was still an incredibly basic system. So what were they really planning to do with $100,000? Nothing. The Indiegogo is basically fake. It's all trying to just show the fact that people will buy this. They already, behind the scenes, clearly had every single dollar they needed to fund this project before they even started that. So why do they have this? Well, to drum up extra funding, and secondly, to try and show that people are, well, I hate to use this term, suckers enough to jump on board. Now, the reason I use such a strong term is because I feel like people are just trying to buy into the idea of this new indie box. Because the Atari, while it's trying to say in a lot of their marketing that this is a modern console, all we've seen for it so far is very retro stuff, like super old stuff from the 70s. We haven't even seen something remotely close to a modern game on it. And what else is odd is, when you buy this through their Indiegogo, there's a $200 package for just the console, something that's about $250, and it's basically a basic joystick that looks like an Atari controller, and the system itself, and a $300 kit that has some wood paneling. They are not, by default, packaging in the modern controller. Because remember, they were showing off that Xbox 360 looking thing, but now all of a sudden it sort of seems like they're trying to backpedal on that. They've also, along with this Indiegogo, finally given us some concrete specifications as to just how strong this thing will be, and it's better than I thought. The Atari VCS, when it comes to just general raw processing power, is actually something sort of in the ballpark of the Nintendo Switch. Now, I am not super computer savvy, but from all the notes I'm reading, it definitely seems like it could run semi-modern games, stuff that will have graphical power that's not exactly subpar, as long as people are making games specifically for it. You can't exactly drag and drop an existing game onto it. Now, the reason that's important is because already I feel like a lot of people who are fans of this, which does kind of blow my mind, are trying to act like some of the stuff that will land on the Atari VCS could be as beautiful as Breath of the Wild. And let me tell you, that's not happening, okay? I don't want to crush your dreams here, but there is no way, unless somebody spends years and years of development custom making something for that hardware, it is not going to be that beautiful. The Nintendo Switch does put out some really good graphics, and I feel like it has very short load times. The Switch does a lot of impressive things individually that combine to something that is quite mind-blowing. The Atari VCS, while having some generally similar hardware, is not exactly in the same ballpark yet. It needs to have the developers who are as dedicated, passionate, and understanding of this tech as the Nintendo developers are, and I just don't see that magically materializing. At best, I think the Atari VCS is going to turn into an indie box, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, this is Moonlighter, a game that is kind of blowing my mind. It sort of plays like an indie version of Zelda, while at the same time sort of critiquing Zelda. You play as this little tiny adventurer who's a shopkeeper by day, and each night sneaks into different dungeons and steals loot to sell in a store. And it's really, really impressive. And let's face it, it's quite bare bones. The fact that these animations are so great and the world is so alive is fantastic. But this is very, very simplistic, just from a general art perspective. I mean, there's not a lot of graphics to this. So easily, this thing could run on anything. You could probably run it on a cell phone and still have no load times whatsoever. So I do think that stuff like this very likely could end up on the Atari VCS. And I'm actually excited for that kind of stuff. But the problem is, those things could already easily exist on every other console. You don't exactly need an Xbox One X to run this. So why are you going to be buying a separate $200 console just to run it? And that's what else is weird about this, is the Atari box at its cheapest is $200. The VCS is not made to be a budget system. The Ouya was smart for trying to advertise itself as a cell phone with a controller, because while it did end up flopping, I do think that that's part of the reason that so many people got behind it, is the concept of making something that is so basic on purpose. A budget console for the home. Also, I'm a little bit annoyed personally that the Atari VCS is still trying to just spread itself out so much. They won't directly say too much about it, but they're trying to just really hype up, in my opinion, pointless features. Like, you can plug systems, apparently, into the Atari VCS and then live stream through it. Why the heck would I want to buy a console to be a capture card? Why would I want my console to be a streaming box? Most people already have a computer if they care to do that, and computers aren't that expensive. You could probably build a streaming deck for less than $200, which is all this thing is really trying to hype itself up as. It's a series of features that doesn't really carry out with anything that is actually fulfilling. So many of the people who are backing this probably have no idea what they're really buying into. This project, as of the recording of this video, has about 10,000 backers. 10K people have put their money where their mouth is and tried to support this project in a monetary way to bring it into fruition. But here's the thing, that equals $2.5 million, and I still don't think you're really going to be seeing this for years and years and years. Currently, they're acting like it'll somehow materialize in 2019, July of 2019. That ain't going to happen. I mean, let's be frank, this thing, if it does come out at all, which I'm going to go on record right now and say I don't think this thing's going to ever come out. I think it's straight up not going to ever exist. But if it does somehow get released, it's going to be in 2020. And I'm also going to say, for the record, I don't think that it's going to ship on time. I don't think this thing's ever going to be in stores. So much of this seems like it is existing as a way to try and suck investor money. They want to create a project, not to sell it, but to get the money for creating it. And that is a very, very important distinction to make. The PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch, these things do not technically exist to sell consoles. They exist to sell games. They make money on every single item sold on their console. They get a tiny little stipend. The Atari box, or the Atari VCS, is not trying to do that. It wants to be a separate system doing a separate thing, and I just don't believe that at all it's going to fulfill any level of its promise. This all seems suspicious. I do not trust it in the slightest. I don't want to use the word scam, but I will say that I fully believe that there are many facets of this that are a straight up ripoff. People already in the community are beginning to get a little bit suspicious as to how this thing made $1 million in the first hour of being live, how it's trying to establish itself with no real clear goal, and why they just seem so dedicated to getting good articles written about them without ever really saying anything important. But what are your thoughts on this? Did you actually back the Atari VCS? And if you did, please explain why, because it is beyond my understanding. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor, give it a like. Let's see if this video can get, I don't know, we'll say 3,000 likes. I'm just throwing that random number out. If you enjoyed this video, thank you for watching it, thank you for sharing it, and thank you for everything else. But really, I have to say the biggest and deepest thank you for helping me reach 100,000 subscribers. Now, I'm going to go celebrate by drinking some energy drinks and kind of just hanging out, because at the end of the day, YouTube is about having fun. So I'm going to go play more Moonlighter because this game is blowing my mind. Do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Woo! 100,000! Oh, hi. I'm just working on the next video. If you want to see what it is, go ahead and click this button and you can subscribe. Also, if you click these video links, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. Now I'm just going to sit here for a minute and wait for you to subscribe. Oh, I guess I could put on these giant glasses. I literally found these on a roller coaster.